Good morning, Patriots, to another episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we break down all the major news headlines you need to know about going into your workday, going into the weekend, hell, really going into anywhere. And this is the show for you. This show is a different type of show in the morning. This is a show that brings you the energy, brings you the quirkiness, the silliness, and also the entertainment. Appreciate having you all join me each and every morning. We are one of the top morning shows on Rumble, and I will keep saying it until Rumble puts us on the editor's list to be number one, because look, you look around on Rumble's top spots, and let me tell you, they're all corporations, and here we are as the Patriots, the Bald Brad Army, doing it ourselves. Well, appreciate you guys joining us. Well, let's jump right into the news of the day. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for saying good morning, by the way. Shout out to our community, the best community on the internet. Thank you. Well, as you can tell by the title, as you can tell by the thumbnail, very, very tragic news took place yesterday, and it happened after we went live, so that's the way things work. But we have it here where a trans-identifying shooter went up and went after a bunch of Catholic students, little kids, which is completely evil and just downright god-awful. So the shooter targets Catholic school in Minneapolis. 2 children were deleted and at least 17 people were wounded when a shooter opened fire at a Catholic school during Wednesday morning, I believe, their mass. The gunman, who was in his early 20s, is gone from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, according to the police chief, Brandon O'Hara, who's also getting a lot of heat, which we'll cover in a moment. And during a press conference after the shooting, O'Hara said that the 2 children were ages 8 and 10. The shooter fired through church windows during school mass, striking children and worshipers. The students were attending mass at the Catholic church next to the school when the shooter opened fire. Now, this guy, hours before, had like stuff already posted online. I can't show the videos. I'll probably be taken down for just talking about this, even though the guy was trans. The shooter was identified as Robin Westman, according to multiple reports. Well, in 2020, Westman reportedly changed his name from Robert to Robin because, quote, he identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification. Sounds a lot like what took place in Nashville, if you all remember that one. Wendy Bell Radio is number 1. Yes. I don't know about number 1, but she's definitely in like the top 3. Wendy is great, and we love Wendy here. I'm saying we're in like the top 10 morning shows, depending on what category you look at, mostly podcast, and we're also not a corporation. So meaning we don't have any investors here. The investors we get is grassroots, Bald Brad Army, baby, but we love Wendy. Wendy's phenomenal. Wendy's great. The shooter was carrying a rifle, shotgun, pistols, and deleted themselves after firing a bunch of rounds, like over a dozen, and innocent children. So the police chief added that 17 people were wounded in the shooting. 14 of them were children, 1 adult, and 6 children are in critical condition. So let's make sure we pray for them. And that's one thing that's crazy. When people say thoughts and prayers, they don't understand the purpose of it. It blows my mind. I'll explain the purpose of it in one moment. I've done it before. The Richfield Police Department, which neighbors Minneapolis, police are responding to an active shooter, which is what was sent out. So Governor Tim Walz, this guy, I've been briefed on a shooting at the Catholic school and will continue to provide updates as we get. I'm praying for our kids and teachers whose first week of school was marred by this horrific act of violence. So it's by the way, it's good that he's saying prayers, thoughts and prayers, because that's important. And people don't understand that not only are you praying for the Lord to send down his angels in the heavens to do the work of protecting people in real time, but also to protect our police officers. And by the way, it's kind of a big thing in faith and religion to pray for those that are deceased and have gone on, and that you're not just praying for the children that have gone on. Hey, Lord, please make sure that you forgive them of their sins. I'm not saying that's they sinned for this heinous act. I'm saying that we all commit sins in our life, and that you want those sins to not be remembered by the Lord, which, by the way, I think this is in like Hebrews or something. It's in the scriptures, in the New Testament. Like it's not an awful prayer that you are wanting people to enter the kingdom of heaven that unfortunately have passed away from an evil act. You're also praying for the comfort and safety of those that are in the area. You're praying for those that might be struggling with depression or now PTSD from this whole thing. I mean, the power of prayer is effective, but for some reason, these people don't understand that it's not necessarily for God to reach his hand down and pick up this active shooter and lift him in the air and toss him away. They don't understand it. They don't get it. And I don't know why. It's really not a hard concept to grasp. You don't have to be somebody of faith to know that this person is evil and that God can't necessarily, I mean, he could, but not reach his hand down and rip him out. I don't get it. So what we know about the trans identifying gunman who slaughtered Catholic children. So this is what came out yesterday, and this has been updated. So the man who shot all these people was transgender, identifying as a 23-year-old who posted radical videos in the hour before the attack. I watched a couple of them on X. It's weird, dude. It's really freaky deaky, man. Like, you guys remember the Joker from Christian Bale's Dark Knight? God, I'm forgetting the guy's name, and I really like him too. Starts with an H. You guys will put it in the chat. The guy played the Joker. Well, he's from Brokeback Mountain. The Knight's Tale. I keep saying I want to say Hegseth, but it's not. But anyways, it reminded me of that, dude. It reminded me of the Joker. He has like an outline of the church, like he drew an entire church on like a journal, and he takes a knife and he stabs it. It's weird, man. I'm telling you, it's some evil stuff, dude. This guy was psychotic. Well, obviously, because he did this act, but you know what I mean. The individual identified as a woman changed the name to Robert, which we saw. Court filings showed that Westman's mother signed off on the name change since her son was a minor, and the documents state that Westman identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect the identification. So already, thank you. Yeah. Heath Ledger. Our community always has my back. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. Yes. You could tell this person already struggles with some sort of mental illness because they're playing into a reality that doesn't exist. Now, there's always been cross-dressing since the dawn of time. There's always been men that cross-dress. Not my thing, but do what you will in your own privacy of your own home. But the idea that you think that you can metamorphosize and turn into a female is not possible. I'm sorry, it isn't. I know you want it to be. There's a lot of things I want in life. I would love to be a millionaire or not have to work or have the Ball Brad show be a full-time job. Like, I would love all sorts of things, but it doesn't mean it's reality. Maybe one day it will be. This one, not so much. Unless maybe AI develops some sort of altering thing for our cells you can inject into somebody and it transforms you. Maybe. I mean, ABL calls them transformers. Anthony Brian Logan, it's just hilarious, by the way. Anthony Brian Logan, who we've been on his show a couple times, he calls trans people transformers. It's really funny. The guy's hilarious. Well, anyways, on Monday morning, Westman fired through windows. The guy didn't even have the balls to go inside. Not that he should. I'm not egging that on, but I'm trying to belittle this scumbag because he's evil. You know, this guy's in hell, hopefully. Shooting. Okay, so video footage obtained by the Daily Wire. The YouTuber Robin W. posted a disturbing video on Wednesday morning with the caption, "So long and thanks for all the fish." This guy is sick. This is what's wrong with some of these people. I'm not saying every trans person is an evil individual and all those things. That's insane, you guys. That's insane. This dude so happened to be trans, so happened to be psycho, and so happened to go in and delete a bunch of people. So clearly, maybe we should reevaluate a lot of things in terms of mental illness in this country because it's rampant. That video shows an individual thumbing through a notebook, listen to this, filled with Russian and English journal entries, as well as pictures of guns, diagrams of his attacks, and transgender defend equality flag sticker. Well, I mean, that didn't really help your agenda, did it, nut job? I'm sorry. I'm going to be mean to this guy. Absolutely I am. I'm not going to be like the mainstream media and give this guy freaking praise and nice blessings and words towards him. Screw him. Guy just deleted a bunch of people. No. Throughout the video, he mutters whispers. Yeah, this was the weird part. There's like a notebook and he has like this steak knife and he's like, dude, it's giving me goosebumps. It's so freaky deaky evil. He mutters and he's like whispering as he's doing it and he's giggling, dude. So we also have here a notebook. Again, he says, this is how he whispers. He goes, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I have to go. I have to go. That's how he does it, dude. Freaking weirdo, man. Weird. He pans with the camera to a page of his notebook where it's written in English. I don't want to play it, dude. It's freaky. It's not for the morning. So anyways, the FBI is looking into this. Everybody's talking about it. The New York Post found that Westman repeatedly discussed his hatred for Jews as well. I don't know what it is with people against Jewish people. I never understood it. But by the way, not just Jewish people too right now. I would like to point out that the hate crimes against Christians has skyrocketed. Matter of fact, let me show you that real quick. It's not part of this, but it's like 780% or something. Let's see if I can find it for you really quick here. Where is it at? Where are you at? Here we go. Here's what Daddy wanted to show you. Look at this.
A growing problem in the United States with the number of hostile attacks against Christians skyrocketing. Just last year, there were 415 incidents, which is a 730% increase just since 2018. Let's bring a growing problem.
Now, you might look in, well, the grand scheme of a country, not that bad. Maybe that's fair because there's a lot of Christians and Catholics and stuff in the United States. But it's not going the direction that you want. Guess what? It should be zero. Now, it will never be zero because we live in reality. And I like to live in reality. I don't like to play make-believe. I guess every now and then everybody does. But it says, I will carry out a racially motivated attack. It would be most likely against filthy Zionist Jews. What a disgusting scumbag. I hate those entitled penny-sniffing. I don't even know what this word is. I've never even heard of this word before. And in another it's like, anybody know what that is? I've never heard of that. 6 million wasn't enough. Wow. He also wrote a message about destroying HIAS, a Jewish refugee group, and one of it, man, these people are sadistic, dude. Here's the thing. He was also calling for Musk and Trump to also be targeted and deleted. Now, what I would like to point out is that, you know what's interesting? There is a major overlap between this dude's thinking and a lot of Democrats and progressive lefties, dude. How many times have we seen these psychos in the Democrat Party, because the left is a part of the Democrat Party, come out and say, oh, we want an 86-47, openly saying they want to delete Trump. I have a video on my TikTok, and it is endlessly hundreds and hundreds of these psychos saying they want to delete Donald Trump. Oh, please. Oh, great. I can't wait. Matter of fact, I think it was 8-24 or 8-26, meaning August 26th. People were actively excited for that day because that's the day that they thought Donald Trump would pass away. I don't know if you guys knew that. We didn't talk about it on the show. It's wild there's such a mental illness and lack of morality in a lot of people in this country, and it's sickening, dude. It is wrong. There's something messed up. I don't know when it started changing. Maybe people have always been this way, and I'm just starting to realize that these people are sickos. I don't know what's wrong with the left. I don't know what's wrong with the Democrat Party, but I really hope the Democrat Party pulls their head out of there. You know what? Because I think it's the right way to think, and you shouldn't be asking that for anybody other than the actual evil people, like maybe the scumbag that did this. Now, luckily, he offed himself, and I hope he did it with the 12 gauge. I hope his head's not there anymore. Well, I don't really like being around people of color. Jeez Louise, now he's a racist. I don't give enough of the bleep about them to take life for them. Oh, man. So anyways, you could see, this is what I was talking about, the knife. Let me zoom in for you guys. Whoa, maybe I zoomed in too much. There we go. So this was the drawing he made, and this is you could see where he like stabbed it. He did in the video, dude. So this is he kind of looks like the Elephant Man. You guys remember that movie from like the 80s? You know what I'm talking about? The Elephant Man? You guys remember that movie? Kind of looks like that guy. Kind of looks like Carrot Top a little bit. No offense to Carrot Top. So there's that for you. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just heinous, evil. And you know, obviously, you know that what they're saying, right? What the Democrats are saying on social media. It's not just a trans problem, mental illness. It's also guns. Weird. I have a gun in my vicinity. Okay. Somewhere. It's never gone off. It's a remarkable thing. Has never gone off. Yep, I know. Has never just randomly walked up and just poof, started firing itself. Can you believe it? I know. You know, cars kill people. I mean, now so now you have self-driving cars, so now that argument's a little rough one to use. But you got Pippi Longstockings here with the mental illness, utilizing something that could be good, used for good or used for bad, and they used it for bad. And for some reason, these people that are anti-Second Amendment, I don't understand why they don't get it. We should do gun buybacks. We need background checks. There already are background checks, you idiots. Like, you guys get it. I'm not calling you idiots. I'm calling the ones that want to remove your Second Amendment rights or chisel away at it over time, which is what they've been doing. Just go to a gun store and ask them the process. I mean, hell, you could do it on the internet. You don't even have to. You could literally pull up the process on the internet, but they won't believe that, right? Why don't you go down there and show the person, or I guess learn from the person, how to purchase a firearm? Now, is that for 100% of the time? No, because there's people on the black market that sell firearms. They're called criminals, and they use those firearms to do heinous and criminal acts. God, none of this is like, it's really not difficult, man, honestly. But anyways, there's that for you. And I still think thoughts and prayers should go out because, again, it's not that you expect God to reach down from the heavens with his hand and pick out the evil shooter and do bada bing, bada boom. Maybe that is possible. It's about those that have passed on. It's about the family members. There's still angels at work. There's Holy Spirits, part of the heavens that we believe, that can come down and bring comfort. God can bring comfort. God can also bring discipline. He could do both. He can also bring down judgment. He can also bring down peace. He could do all of it. And we hope that he could bring peace and comfort to the families whose lives were just destroyed. But for those on the left, are you able to grasp that? Because it's really not a tough thing to grasp. I'm not even saying you have to believe it, but thoughts and prayers are important because we think the power of prayer is effective. We think angels can actually come down and involve and inject themselves into your life and ward away evil spirits and ward away that depression and help your life be prosperous. Maybe not all the time because God puts things in your path that you have to overcome, but that's what it's there for. And it's also there for the children or the people that have passed on, unfortunately, that they will enter the kingdom of heaven. God forbid you pray for that. Well, where else would they go? I don't know. I apologize for being a jerk today in my tone, but I don't understand why it's so difficult for people to make basic connections these days. And by the way, I'm not any better than anybody else. I'm an idiot. That's what I always say. I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm an idiot. And if I'm an idiot and I can make those connections, why can't somebody else? Well, thoughts and prayers don't stop this thing. I'm not saying thoughts and prayers are going to stop it. Anyways, enough of me ranting. It's good seeing you guys again. All right, let's get into some different news. Again, God bless you. Make sure I didn't forget anything. I had a few postings about some stuff here. I want to make sure I didn't miss it. Oh, yeah. Here you go. You had this. Look at this. I want to make sure I do show you this. Catholic schools, from the Blaze, Catholic schools begged Governor Tim Walz to increase security before horrific shooting, and he did nothing. There's a thing that I recall this happening multiple times. There's also that big one. They blamed January 6th on us, but they also didn't give us the National Guard that Donald Trump said, hey, put in place, but Nancy Pelosi didn't want to do that. Gotcha. Okay. I understood. Okay. Yep. So there's Tim Walz. Yeah. By the way, none of that surprises me. There's also this right here where the Minneapolis police chief once again says that there's no motive. Just check this out. There's no motive. So what this guy did was just did nothing but write motives on his firearms, on all his magazines, on his scope, right? On his brackets, everything. All motives, by the way, had a journal. Yeah, we don't know his motives. Typical Minneapolis, dude. And of course, it's on CNN. Of course, CNN will get the...
So right now, we don't have a clear motive to establish for why he did this at the church today. We're obviously open to every possibility, and we're hopeful that once we are able to go through the scene, all of the evidence that's collected, that we'll be able to better provide answers for our community.
Yeah.
They pulled the same stunt when there was that Nashville shooting. You guys remember that one where there was another trans person that shot up a place? It's weird though, right? So Charlie Kirk posted about this. This is what a strong conservative response to evil, horrific shooting in Minneapolis looks like. So this is from Nate Morris. I saw Democrats like Chuck Schumer immediately rush to blame the tragic shooting in Minnesota on our right to bear arms, and I wanted to directly respond. Whenever there is a shooting, the Democrat media's response is always to blame the Second Amendment. Correct, is exactly what we said. Why is that? So they can achieve their long-term ideological goal of endless gun control that eventually leads to gun confiscation, which, by the way, leads to your government going usurpacious on your own people. And then, well, now you just lost your republic, which is how it's going to happen sooner or later. It always allows them to ignore the lack of security at schools and distract from the growing epidemic of left-wing anti-Trump violence. It's interesting to me that the politicians who constantly called to restrict the rights of law-abiding citizens in response to every mass shooting throw a temper tantrum at the mere suggestion that we fortify our schools with armed security. I know it sounds terrible, right? To make sure you have somebody there that's concealing so your kids are protected. The kid's never going to see the firearm. Hell, you could walk around and never even know that somebody's carrying a firearm. It doesn't have to be that out there in the broad open, right there in the open, but it's nice to have somebody there to protect your kids. But how many kids have to die in school shootings before we finally say enough is enough and protect them with the security that they deserve? We also now know that the monster responsible for this wasn't just a random thug committing a crime. He was a trans left-wing activist who was clearly driven by his hatred for President Trump. Of course, that probably means that the media is going to do everything in their power to disappear this story, but we should not allow them to get away with it. Again, he's kind of referencing what took place in Nashville, again, in some way, shape, or form, where they wouldn't release the manifesto, the journals, and all this other stuff. Now, this might not be politically correct to say, but it's hard not to notice that there's a disproportionate amount of self-identifying trans people who in the past several years have committed mass shootings. At a certain point, we need to have a conversation as a country about why that is. When I brought something kind of similar up in that TikTok video I made yesterday, surrounding the shooting, is that what people were saying in my comments was, oh, well, it's cis white men that do most of these shootings. Yeah, the fact that you're white has nothing to do with the shooting itself. Okay, being white is not a mental illness. Being black is not a mental illness. It's wild to me. Again, these people just inject race time and time and time and time again. Your race, listen carefully, those in the Democrat Party, your race has nothing to do with anything. You can try to make believe, is what we constantly want to do in that party. Make believe that race has everything to do with everything. No, it doesn't, because we don't care about your race. We care about who you are as an individual, and if you have any mental illnesses or not, that could lead to something like this happening. Now, this person has a mental illness because they think they are something of which they are not. If I was prancing around as a kitty cat, do you think that's normal? Me saying I identify as a kitty cat, meow, 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 and doing a whole podcast in meow, meow, meows? Like, what's wrong with this guy? What's wrong with this guy? Yeah. The same way, if I'm talking to somebody that's not there, right, and I'm seeing people, I'm like, hey, what's going on, Jimmy Joe, Jody Bag of Donuts? Like Bongino always says, how you doing, buddy? Oh, yeah, and you're looking like, bro, there's nobody there. Yeah, you think there's something a little off with that guy. At a certain point, we need to have a conversation as our country about why that is. Is it possible that brainwashing children into believing that they can change their gender and pumping them full of experimental hormones can cause long-term mental illness? Maybe. Like feeding into their delusions, that will mess you up. And if you feed into somebody's delusions for the first 18 years of their life, of course you're going to think it's normal. Of course. God, we live in such an ass backward society nowadays, man. It's sad. It's sad. And you can't necessarily blame the kids. I mean, it's the parents that are doing it. I mean, there are people. I mean, the stats on this is remarkable. It's actually, you'd more likely be struck by lightning almost. Where if you have, it's weird how two lefty parents have like 4 children and they're all trans. By the way, the only way that's possible is if you are injecting ideology into them, and you feel bad for the kids, man. Wild, wild, wild. So that party is just done. And by the way, the DNC is pushing identity politics as a new op-ed urges the party to shed the weak, whiny, and woke label. Here we go. This is coming from Fox News.
It's the weak, whiny, woke, and they're now broke as we see this huge spread between the RNC race and the DNC raise, they're trying this attempt at a rebrand, which is going about as well as the Cracker Barrel rebrand, right? You have Abigail Spanberger, who has not voted with President Trump on anything. She voted against him, and she was for his 2019 impeachment inquiry. Then she went into, and then you have this Mikey Sherrill, who has time and time again voted against the One Big Beautiful Bill and anything that actually helps working class Americans. And they've been against all immigration enforcement. And now you have Spanberger coming out and saying, we're not going to allow police officers to help support President Trump's initiative to deport people through ICE. The Democrats,
There's a lot there to unpack. But again, they're going to keep pushing identity politics. The Democrat Party has moved further left, so far left that it's unrecognizable now, which is why their approval ratings are so low. And they don't know what to do. And that's why you have people like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and others actually joining the Republican Party, because the Republican Party, believe it or not, has moved more towards the center than further right. But if you listen to CNN, MSNBC, all these other outlets, ABC, CBS, NBC, they will all tell you otherwise. Oh, the Republicans have moved to the right. The Republicans are racist. Well, if the Republican Party was the party of anti-slavery, they're the party that voted to give the civil rights movement its pass. If they were the party that fought against the Democratic South and portions of the Democratic North to make sure that you get rid of slavery through, by the way, white men predominantly fighting that war, because they love to inject race. You always have to throw that in their face, which, by the way, the white part doesn't really matter. It's just men in general, making sure that other men have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as well, and that all men are created equal. Yeah, it was the Republican Party that did that. So if Republican Party went further right, wouldn't that just lead to more freedoms and more liberties and more prosperity and, I don't know, more happiness in terms of the pursuit thereof, and the more likely that all men would be created equal? Wouldn't that be moving further right? Do you guys get what I'm saying here? Like, their ideology is completely wrong. By the way, I think we should move further right, because that way we could bring back actual values that men are men and women are women. How about we go back that direction again, and that you get to protect your life and your family with a firearm, and that we should do something with the mental illness in this country, and then we shouldn't drive ourselves $37 trillion in debt, and then we shouldn't allow terrorists to come free willy-nilly across our border and plan sleeper cell attacks upon Americans. And how about we don't allow, heinous crimes to be committed against Jews and Christians and Catholics and Muslims and all this other stuff. I mean, it's all common sense. It really, really is. And well, speaking of common sense, here's Scott Jennings bringing common sense to CNN once again.
How nervous should it make Republicans?
Well, it doesn't make me very nervous to hear Democrats with a straight face looking into a television camera and saying, boy, how did we get to this affordability crisis? Given that we all know how we got there over the last 4 years.
You're right.
And the
disaster of Donald Trump. You're absolutely right.
So you're saying we had no affordability crisis during the Biden years?
I will say that.
Where did the inflation come from?
This is the difference between someone who led policy in the White House and someone who talked about it. So Republican presidents.
You can't answer the question. Did inflation go up or not? Did inflation go up or not?
Inflation has gone up.
Did inflation go up under Biden or not?
Republican presidency.
What's killing your party is a failure to be honest with the American people about why you lost the last election.
Michael, you go. Then Scott. Michael, you go. Then Scott. Hang on, Scott. Go ahead, Michael.
So to the question, at the end.
How nervous should it make Republicans?
Scott. He's a legend, dude. Scott is seriously, he's a national treasure. I will never want to get rid of Scott Jennings. I just wish he was on a different show. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like him on CNN, but man, I got to see him get on The View if The View's still around. I think it was canceled. Are they still on hiatus, man? It's been a while. Not that I'm asking for them to come back, but anywho. There's that with Scott Jennings. So that party, as you can see, just lie. They make believe. They don't want to actually face the actual reality that they're crippling or were crippling this country, that some of their values in terms of what they used to hold are now gone. They're mostly independents now. It's just the list really goes on with that party. It's kind of sad to see. I mean, you look at, again, I've always pointed to this, the old school JFK party is completely evaporated. You can even go back as early as Barack Obama in, let's say, 2007, during a lot of his speeches leading up to 2008. It sounds completely different. They're like two different people. I don't understand it. I really don't. Well, one of the things that I don't fully understand, but I do at the same time, is Cracker Barrel. They're still in the news, and we covered yesterday that Cracker Barrel has reverted back to its original logo. But we said damage is done, right? We said damage is done. So if you're like, well, Brad, what's going on with Cracker Barrel? You've been living under the rock. It's okay. Things happen in life. Let me explain really quickly. Cracker Barrel, to be fair, has been on a pretty steady decline for the last 4 years in terms of their stock price. They've been going down. So I'm speculating as to why they wanted to do a rebranding. So they spent $700 million on a rebranding. $700 million. You guys all saw the image. That was $700 million to rebrand that image? Really? I mean, I understand that you got to remodel the places and the buildings, the baba-deep, baba-doop. You know, you got restaurants that you got to revamp. I get it. Well, people didn't take very kindly to that. And so they started boycotting it pretty heavily, going on social media, bashing it for being woke, even though maybe it was or wasn't. Who really knows? They lost $143 million alone in market value. Well, it was just posted that this is a Saturday night at Cracker Barrel, or Saturday evening. And I'm being told that this parking lot, this whole lot for this one Cracker Barrel here, is usually jam-packed every weekend. You can't get a spot. Now, could this person be lying? Absolutely. But this is the Cracker Barrel now. This is probably the people that are working there. Yeah, these are the employees, which would go hand in hand with the videos that we saw yesterday of the employees with the camera right in the bathroom going, I've only had 3 tables this whole shift and I've only made $13. It's like, well, yeah, you know, when you do a rebranding like that, it just tells you that some people don't know their audience. Like, those are the people you want to hire, those that actually enjoy the company itself. Like, they know the culture of the company. They know what the company's about. They're invested in it. They like it, because those were your customers. And by the way, if those are the type of people that you're hiring, then gee, you have a good idea of how to advance the company, because they're fans of it, because they like it. And you should talk to them and talk to your customers. Get out there in the restaurants and say, hey, do you want this thing to be revamped? What do you think about it? And some of them might say, no. Why don't you just show them the image that you're going to create and have people vote on it? Like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Well, let's get into some other news here. The FBI settles, Trump DOJ settles with FBI whistleblowers. So here we go. The Department of Justice has finalized settlements with 10 FBI whistleblowers who faced retaliation from the Biden administration after they sounded the alarm on political weaponization of the agency. So the settlements include payments for damages, full back pay and benefits, and reinstatement for at least 3 of the agents. Republican Representative Chuck Grassley, who advocated for the whistleblowers, praised Trump DOJ for prioritizing accountability and bringing closure to the cases. So because Biden wanted to be an idiot, guess what? More of our tax dollars gone. Now, granted, I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but it would have never been there in the first place if Biden would have just done his job correctly, but he doesn't. You know, they actually did the opposite of what they were supposed to do. They spied on American citizens. What else did they do? They completely fabricated documents to make Donald Trump look bad. Operation Hurricane was a complete debacle where they fabricated more evidence coming from the president of the United States, Barack Obama. I mean, that whole charade. So it's not a shock whatsoever. This guy's, it's pretty remarkable that I even say this, because before it used to be Barack Obama was the worst president ever to exist in this country. But I mean, Joe Biden takes the cake, man. He was awful. And the sad thing of it all, he doesn't even know that he was awful. I mean, think about that. That guy, I mean, it almost bugs you that's like, you just want him to know how bad he was. This guy is probably right now reclining on the beaches of Delaware, snoozing away, not a thought in the world that he is a terrible president, that he sucked, and that nobody wants him as president ever again. And at one point, he was the most popular president, allegedly, in American history. And nobody's going to bat an eye over that one of like, that's a little odd that somehow you got all these votes, but all those votes kind of disappeared. And it was the only anomaly that's happened in the history of this country where you get a spike like that. When there's anomalies, anybody that knows auditing would look into that and go, gee, that's a little weird. Let's investigate that. How'd you pull that one off? But we can't do that because then you're challenging the election. It's the most trustworthy election that ever happened. And it's all trustworthy, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sure. I'm just asking questions, a little bit odd, but he doesn't know that he sucked. It's a little frustrating for me. Yeah, I wish he would. But no, his brain is so mush. It's so gone that he's enjoying life right now. Not a clue. He doesn't even know that he was president. Put it that way. Yep. He's just thinking he's corn pop working in a bookstore in a small town of Pennsylvania, I suppose. Well, do you ever wonder that? You guys remember the FBI movie? I think maybe it was the FBI. Men in Black with Will Smith before he started slapping everybody on the stage of the Oscars. And oh God, what's the other guy's name? Oh wow, I'm always forgetting names today. Well, anyways, when they give you that light, maybe that is a real thing. Maybe somebody just kept flashing that light in front of Joe Biden's face so many times in government that finally it just really just did him in. They just flashed him right after he's done with his presidency. You're a bookstore owner, Joe. You're corn pop in Pennsylvania. You do your diaper. All righty. Well, the whistleblowers were punished for speaking out against the previous administration's politically motivated actions, which obviously is true. We've seen that through Crossfire Hurricane. There's no doubt about it. You can't hide it. It's in emails. We've seen whistleblowers come out. There's documentation of them doing it. There's so much. Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. Thank you. There's so much evidence of what they did. There's no way you could spin it. Put it that way. No way you could spin it. Well, there's a flagging moment sweeps UK amid migrant backlash. I am so close to saying London is gone. Now, I know London's not the UK. I get it. But dude, that whole area, people are saying that there might actually be, I don't want to say a civil war, but there might be some really crazy stuff popping off in the next few years in the UK because people want their country back. So a new patriotic movement known as flagging is sweeping the United Kingdom. And I covered this, by the way, on TikTok. I've always mentioned you want to follow me everywhere because I will keep you like 2 weeks, sometimes years ahead of the news cycle. I covered this like last week. Okay. And the news cycle is just picking up on it. As flagging is sweeping the United Kingdom, a public anger grows over the government's mass migration policies and a surge in violent crime committed by migrants. So check this out. This is real, by the way. The organic movement involves citizens raising the Union Jack and the St. George's Cross flags. So if I have this correctly, the Union Jack is like the flag of the UK, and then St. George's Cross is the cross of England. It would be like you having basically the United States of America flag would be like the Union Jack, and then St. George's flags would be like the flag of California or something. You know how each state has like their own flag. Well, this movement is them putting these flags on lampposts across the country. It grew out of protest against the government's practice of housing illegal immigrants in local hotels, which has led to a number of rapies and assaults on local people. And yeah, I said rapies on purpose because you get flagged now for saying that word. Like you'll see me say schmurder because you can't say anything anymore on these freaking commie websites like YouTube. So what you have here is very similar to what's going on in the United States. How many times have you seen these psycho leftists remove a American flag or not willing to fly the American flag? They're more willing to fly the trans flag, any other Ukrainian flag. Democrat Party literally wears Ukrainian flags on their chest in their own chambers. Not the American flag, not anything else. Every other country's flag other than our own. Well, I mean, it's literally outside their doors of their offices in the Capitol. Critics have labeled the movement xenophobic. Wow, it's xenophobic for you want to fly your own flag, really? I mean, that's where we're at as a globe, by the way. This leftist movement, I wrote an entire book called How the Left is Destroying America. Maybe I need a volume 2, How the Left is Destroying the World now at this point. Maybe I should. Every country gets a chapter. But supporters point to a double standard as local councils have been quick to take down British flags, have been afraid to remove Palestinian flags from heavily Muslim areas. I'm going to read that again because I don't think everybody really caught on to that. I'm not saying you're stupid. Some of you are at work. Some of you got stuff going on. Yeah, check this out, man. This is freaking nuts. They're saying it's xenophobic, right? But supporters are pointing out a double standard. So the local councils are going around and taking down the Union Jack and the St. George's Cross flags off lampposts, but they're leaving up the Palestinian flags because they're worried that the Muslims in the area are going to start attacking them. What? And you see that theme, right? Everybody's so easy to criticize the Jews and Catholics and Christians because we're predominantly mostly peaceful, as are Muslim areas, to be fair. But the second you start going after their faith and you start drawing Muhammad, what happens? Beheadings start taking place. Oh, you can't do that. But it's okay to go after Catholics, Jews, and Christians. Gotcha. And I'll call it out because it's true. It's an objective truth. We've all seen it. We've all seen it. The backlash comes as government data shows a surge in crimes committed by foreign nationals, which we covered here on the show. It was also covered by Matt Walsh, who had a phenomenal opinion piece on this. And then we kind of echoed that opinion piece on my website, baldbrad.com, on my blog. Well, according to the Center of Migration Control, convictions of foreign nationals for sexual offenses increased by 62% in 3 years. No problem, though. No big deal. No, the left loves this stuff. You guys, we see it in California. We see it in Chicago, Portland, Seattle, New York City. It's fine. And also the United Kingdom. A recent video went viral from Scotland showing a 14-year-old girl, I saw this, branding axes and machetes to defend herself and her 12-year-old sister from a man with a foreign accent who was harassing them. The girl was charged by police with possession of a knife. Not the guy not the foreign guy with the foreign accent, rather, was harassing them. No. That guy's fine. You see how everything ass backwards is? The guy that was harassing minors, a 14-year-old and 12-year-old, completely okay. But the girl that's just trying to defend herself and her sister, well, that's terrible for brandishing a knife. How about you don't go after little girls? How about you don't go after little kids? But again, it's always seems to be, in the last 20 years, law-abiding citizens or those trying to just protect themselves that's doing nothing wrong are the ones that constantly are getting screwed. But then you have those that are committing the crimes that are fine. Am I making sense here? You guys let me know in the chat, because look, maybe I'm just an idiot and I'm so far gone mentally that I'm not with reality anymore. And I'm willing to accept that at this point, because it makes you wonder that why is it that people are going to jail for protecting themselves constantly, but nothing happens to the criminals. Matter of fact, the criminals are out there on the street still committing the same heinous acts against other people that are probably also being arrested because they're trying to protect themselves. But then not only does a criminal get out free, but they're also going to be suing the people that they committed the crime against because the person that they committed a crime against tried to shoot back at them. I mean, the UK is gone, man. It's bad. I've seen video. I've seen footage. I've seen the statistics. London has fallen. And I'm curious, and I wish Shib was in here. Shib and a couple of his buddies watch the show from the UK. They're big patriots. They love America. They love Trump. I hope Shib's okay, because we haven't heard from Shib in a while. Shib might have gotten arrested for all I know. For doing nothing. By the way, for doing nothing. For talking on YouTube. Ooh. Yeah, you get arrested for saying things now in the UK. That country's so far gone. By the way, ours was almost like that too. Thank God we got Trump in office, right? I mean, boy, oh boy, do I think I say the Lord doesn't reach his hand down. I think the Lord, and Ben Shapiro kind of echoed this most recently during a speech event that he did. I think the Lord brought his hand down and turned Donald Trump's head so that bullet missed, to once again save this country and bring it back from its collapse. We were on the brink of collapsing. And I firmly believe that, by the way. It's not one of those things like I think this might have happened. I 100% believe that God orchestrated saving Donald Trump's life so that he can keep this country great. And you want to know why I believe that? Is because if you read history books, for example, if you look at George Washington's movements during the Revolutionary War, I'm not talking once, I'm not talking twice, 3 times, 4 or more. The things that happened to that man and how he escaped the British multiple times and went into battle and came out unscathed there's stories of this guy. By the way, Native Americans talked about this guy as being a legend and wanted to shake the man's hand because they couldn't believe that he was still alive after what they did to him. The things that happened during the Revolutionary War to make this country a nation, there's no way, I think, that if you actually knew the totality of it from a holistic view and you read every single battle, that you walk away thinking, just luck. Yeah, just luck. George Washington would literally be the luckiest man to ever have lived on the face of this planet in a human existence. I don't think that's the case. I think Donald Trump, George Washington, a lot of great leaders were picked and chosen by the heavens to be given wisdom to lead this country to greatness. I firmly believe that. Hand to God, I really do. I'm not just trying to talk it up. There ain't no way in hell, man. George Washington made it all those battles without having help from the heavens. Let me tell you, because it was close. A lot of it was close. All righty, let's see what else we have in the news for all of you. By the way, thanks for joining me. Make sure you hit that like button. Greatly appreciate you. We're not going anywhere just yet. We do have Dark MAGA later today at 4 p.m. It's the last day of the month where we get to have everybody join us. Again, if you're confused by that, we usually have to do about 6 hours of Rumble Premium only content every single month. So we try to get that done in the first 2 weeks of the month so that everybody can join us for the following 2 weeks of the month. If you're not part of Rumble Premium, head over there and become a member to my channel. If you become a member of the Bald Brad Show, then you will get my Dark MAGA podcast and Rumble Premium content over there. You won't get everybody else's on Rumble, but you'll get mine. It's no different than you taking your membership from YouTube and applying it over at Rumble. And that's what I would do, by the way, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're not getting the full effect of your money. Whereas if you brought that money over to Rumble and got rid of that subscription over at YouTube, well, then you get more content. You get more for your buck. And that's what I want for you. So if you want to head over there, it'd be greatly appreciated. Well, we have this here. I guess Jen Psaki's in the news. Oh, boy. When is she not, I suppose? MSNBC's Jen Psaki turns church school shooting into an attack on prayer. Here we go. Well, the former mouthpiece of Joe Biden blasted President Donald Trump's D.C. anti-crime crackdown as the power of prayer as she reacted to a church school shooting in Minnesota Wednesday. Authorities said at least 2 children. We know that already, which is heinous. We covered that at the beginning. Where's her? Here we go. Prayer is not freaking enough. Prayers do not end school shootings. We never said that they did. We hand to God. We would hope that they could. That would be awesome. By the way, it'd be amazing if you could just pray for anything and it happened, right? I mean, everybody's seen that movie with Jim Carrey where he's like, basically, he has the powers of God. God allows him to do his duties for like however long, and remember how he just says yes to everybody's prayer, and then everything got destroyed. It would be nice. Hey, if you prayed to win the lottery, God, wouldn't that be great if everybody prayed to win the lottery? Well, then everybody wins the lottery. It doesn't work that way, Jen, which tells me, it makes me wonder if she knows what the hell she's talking about in terms of faith. Prayers do not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Well, that's not true. That's not true. There's a lot of people of faith that pray that their kids will have a great day. I was praying yesterday before work. Prayers does not bring these kids back. Well, no, of course it doesn't. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. At least you guys know when I tell you things, I'm like, hey, this is what they're saying. This is what they're doing. This is what they're responding on comments on my videos or somebody else's videos or on Reddit or on X or whatever. I read all that stuff throughout the day. I just don't have the time as somebody that does this right by myself. I'm not saying, right, we have moderators. Thank you to the moderators. But you know what I mean? Like, I can't package a full show going, let me screen grab this dude's comment for the show tomorrow. Boom. And then let me screen grab this person like Jen Psaki and what she said, boom, and present it all to you. I just have to tell you verbally what people are saying in the hopes that you believe me. Now that you've been watching me for 4 years, you know I'm not going to, BS you, or at least try not to. And if there's something I'm unsure of, I'll say, hey, take it with a grain of salt, or I'm not so sure about this. Make sure you look it up yourself. But this is what they're saying. When kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass, and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around DC, maybe rethink your strategy. Jen, I'm not going to take any strategy or communication from you at all. You are one of the worst communicators in terms of White House press secretaries that have existed. Jen, I thought you were going to be the worst White House press secretary until you said, hey, I'm stepping down and I'm going to bring in Karine Jean-Pierre. And there's footage of me saying Karine Jean-Pierre is going to be worse than Jen Psaki. And I actually remember the old school patriot saying, I don't think that's going to be the case because she was so bad that no fault of your own. There's no way anybody can be worse than Jen Psaki. And then, of course, MSNBC hires her and then puts up Karine Jean-Pierre, which took the reins. Jen, you suck at your job. You're a terrible communicator. You lie through your teeth. You weren't transparent with the American people. You hid the fact that the president of the United States was cognitively declining. You hid a lot of stuff from us. You're a liar. And you know what? I don't believe anything you say. And this doesn't help the fact that you don't even know what the power of prayer does and how it's effective for people of faith. So it's just, it's there. You have Karen Hamilton saying, I don't expect a spiritually blind person to understand prayer. Yes. Yes, Karen. Yes. But it is real. Today, I attended the funeral of a baby, and often when parents are in the depths of grief, Jesus is their greatest comforter. Huh. God, isn't that, I swear like your host, me, said something very similar to that. Yes, Karen. Nice job. You should investigate why that is rather than belittling it. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Even Washington Examiner contributor Kimberly Ross pointed out that Psaki had posted her own message in 2017 saying thoughts and prayers. Well, there's a little bit of a slap in the face. What were you saying? Correct. Megan Bashman says, your party encourages mental illness in telling men they can become women, then encourages them identifying as victims when the world does not indulge their perverse fantasies, and then screams prayers are not enough when insane transgender shoot up schools. Isn't this refreshing? You know what? I think we're going to end with these comments because it's refreshing to end with common sense today. It really is nice. And I don't want to ruin that because I'm feeling very good right now. The fact that there's common sense back in the world where people are posting, it's kind of nice because when you read the insanity of the left always, you almost start feeling insane yourself. Well, it says, good of you to point out the National Guard needs to be deployed to every major Democrat-run city to prevent their mentally ill transgender groupies from killing people. Yeah. Well said, Rusty. Well said. Well, it's just sad that we have to put out the National Guard everywhere because Democrat-ran cities don't want to do what they're going to do. And by the way, it's some Republican areas as well. I don't want to just point out Democrats, but it's predominantly Democrats, which is why I point them out. You can always find some outlier, which is some Republican red area that's pulling it off, but isn't that nice? It's not nice what happened. It's terrible, but prayer is effective. And of course I'm going to defend Christianity. Of course I am. I'm Christian. And you know what? When people are saying, I don't like the fact, because I think there's forms of evil that's in that when you say prayer is not enough. Prayer is never enough. Just in the same way that your faith is never enough. That's why the scriptures say you need to have knowledge, faith, and action. Without faith, your action is dead. With just action and not knowledge, your faith is dead. By the way, you can read that in the New Testament. You'll find it in various places where it says you need knowledge and faith, that knowledge leads to faith, and that faith leads to action. Knowledge leads to action, action leads to faith. They go hand in hand. They do. And by the way, it makes logical sense. The Lord is logical. It makes sense that you would need all three of those, because how can you have faith in something that you don't know exists? You don't know exists. How can you have faith in it? It's just never there. And the more that you know about something and that you believe in it because you know more about it, that's going to move you, and it's going to light a fuse under your you-know-what to go out and act upon it in a way that's through the power of prayer, community service, reading your scripture, having community, going to church, bettering yourself. It's not really, none of it's difficult. None of it's difficult. So by the way, if you're not actively in the scriptures, that's what's going to cause your faith to decline, which also cause your action to decline, which makes sense because part of that action is reading the scripture. So there's your Bible study for today. Knowledge, faith, action. You got to read the word of God. You got to cleanse yourselves every day. The word is like water. You got to, just like you shower every day, you should be reading your Bible every day. You should be praying every day. You should be trying to learn every day, scrubbing yourself, changing your thinking, taking that time with God. He deserves it. But, Jen Psaki and others don't know how all this stuff works. All righty. Well, like, geez, Brad, Jesus is with me through it all. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I just don't understand some people, but that's fine. Some people don't understand us as Christians and Trump supporters, so that's okay. I think we should try to understand each other. I think that's a big thing. And I try to understand the left. I just don't understand why you'd want to push somebody to believe in a fictitious reality. You cannot become a woman. I'm sorry. It's not, I know you want to. You can't. And I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news here. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. It's life. I know there's things that we can't do that we wish we could. I wish I could fly, to be honest. That'd be great. I wish I could fly like Superman. So you know what? Does anybody want to egg me on? Anybody in here in the chat want to tell me to go to the world's tallest building in Dubai and just jump off it because I could fly? Does anybody want to tell me to do that? No, maybe I should. I believe I can fly. So you know what? I should be told that I can fly. I should be told, go ahead, Brad. Without a parachute or a squirrel suit, jump off the world's largest building. I think you could do it, man. You know, I think you can fly, actually. And I think you'll make it, dude. I think you'll make it pretty far. Now, here's the messed up thing. I will fly for a short time, and I will make it kind of far. It'll just be very far vertically into the ground, into the pavement. Do you know what I mean? It's just silly. It's just silly. I don't know why we act so silly all the time. But anyways, we act silly here on the show. And by the way, Dark Mag is giving me tonight. We're going to be even more silly, but I appreciate you can do it. Shut up, Gregor. You son of a bitch. You and Keith, dude, egging me on. You guys, that's how guys are. Hey. Now, I won't be able to hear you from the bottom, but when you say jump, you know, if the wind lifts it, I might be able to get echoes of it. But I'll tell you what, on my way down, I'll be able to hear you for sure. Anyways, thank you for the laughs at the end of the show. Thank you for always joining me, folks. We have such an awesome community of regulars here and more people. Make sure you try to share the show on social media if you can. Always appreciate you joining me. I just picture me flying. Anyways, I will see you later today here on Dark Maga. We'll be live everywhere on X, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, all those places. Pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. And by the way, pray for each other and the victims and families of the massacre that took place, because power of prayer is effective. And I don't care what Jen Psaki or these lefties say. It is important, not just for your faith, but for the comfort and safety of others, folks. With that being said, I'll see you a little bit later today here on the Paul Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.